In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
Well, Indiana coach Kirk Cignetti once famously said 2 words, Google me. Well, if you Google him now, what you're going to find is a whole bunch of articles about a $92.8 million contract extension, 8 years to stay with the Indiana Hoosiers, $11.6 million per year. While this is good for the Hoosiers and good for Indiana, it is not good for a lot of teams looking for a new coach. That includes one of the teams in the SEC, Arkansas, and maybe another by the end of the week, possibly Florida. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh with you. Simone will join us momentarily, but the big news broke yesterday. We talked about it here on the show, Patrick. One of the big things about college football that we've always seen is every university is trying to get to that next level, trying to find that next guy. Indiana seemingly has found that next guy, but most importantly, they're going to keep that guy according to this contract.
And yet again, another guy under the Saban coaching tree gets paid. I mean, I think I saw a stat or something of his salary just like 6 or 7 years ago, and he was making $100,000 a year as the assistant coach, or it was at IUP, I think he was at.
He's been at IUP and Elon. Those are the 2 schools before JMU.
And now here he is, $11.6 million richer. I mean, this is unreal. This is great for Indiana. Obviously, last year it was a program-changing year. There were a lot of speculation around, well, they can't win the big games. But, I mean, if you look at the 2 losses, they were the 2 teams that played in the national championship.
That's exactly right.
And as you can see here, these are pictures from the Oregon game. And I think that Oregon game kind of solidified, Kirk Cignetti, he's for real. He's got these Hoosiers in a nice spot.
Absolutely. You talk about timing. And timing in football is everything, whether it comes to plays or players making huge plays in games. Timing is also a big thing as far as it relates to coaches. Let me explain. Because Kirk Cignetti obviously signed this or got this deal based in large part because this is no longer conceptual, can he win big, and was last year a flash in the pan. I think that win in Oregon really said, oh, no, we are really here. Yep. It wasn't last year 11 wins. It wasn't a fluke. They might have snuck up on some teams, but not many. And then this past year, obviously, getting up to a really nice start and then going to Eugene and getting that win. Timing can also be bad the other way around because Oregon goes to Penn State, beats Penn State. Now, James Franklin's, failures, quote unquote.
Failures.
It's a litany of things.
Right.
But you talk about timing, you can't lose that game to Oregon in double overtime when you're known as the guy that can't win the big one. And then lose the next week to UCLA, and then lose the next week to Northwestern. If he wins either one of those 2 games, he might still have his job. Timing is everything.
I mean, he was always known as a guy that can beat up on the bad teams. And I think I said this the other day. James Franklin was really good when he played against teams that had lesser talent than Penn State. Every time he played a team that had equal to or greater than, I think he won 1 game, and it was the Ohio State game, and it was because of a blocked field goal that got returned back. That is literally the only reason why he has 1 win. Other than that, he would have gone over like 17.
Yes. I mean, it would have been horrible, and that's what Penn State is looking for is the guy that can take them over the top. And it looks like Kirk Cignetti is that guy right now that can take a team over the top. Has he won a national championship? No. Is he trending in the right direction? And is he doing exactly what? It's so ironic because Kirk Cignetti is doing exactly what Penn State wants.
Yes.
But then IU locks him up. Now, I erroneously thought that Kirk Cignetti would at least weigh his options.
Right.
And use all of these openings as leverage if he wanted to stay. But what I thought was, Indiana is traditionally a basketball school. And obviously they love Bob Knight, and I think they love football, but there's a handful of universities where you can make the argument that basketball is more important than football, Kentucky being one, Duke being one, North Carolina being one. And I know they all want to play and compete and do well in football, but basketball is kind of there. That's what they're known for. Kansas is another. I thought Indiana was in that same boat, and they would not necessarily give the right resources, or the resources would have a ceiling. this lets me know Indiana's for real.
I mean, I knew going into this whole debacle about right when James Franklin got fired from Penn State, I knew Indiana literally had to throw the kitchen sink at Curt Cignetti to get him to stay. Because, I mean, if they didn't, Penn State has an awful lot more money than Indiana does to offer.
No question.
And here Indiana is signing Curt Cignetti to an amazing contract extension, a well-deserved contract extension because, I mean, this Indiana team is going to be a problem for years to come. And, I mean, they've got a guy under center in Fernando Mendoza who could go on to win the Heisman this year.
Right. This is Southeast Sports Plus. We talk about teams in the SEC. However, one of the things you just did, and you synced it up really well, because that first image was with Curt Cignetti and Marcus Freeman, seemingly the two of the hottest coaching candidates that will be, quote-unquote, available on the market. I know these guys are both under contract. Now that he's locked up, and it's really interesting to me, these coaching things that have come out this past week, whether it's James Franklin getting fired, then there was the report, and you had the fact that the Florida boosters have already started talking, and this could be the end of Billy Napier if they lose this week to Mississippi State. Now, if everything aligns and Marcus Freeman gets an extension, I have no idea where these schools go next because Arkansas is still open.
Right.
Florida could come open, and who knows what else falls out of the SEC. I find the game of negotiations really interesting as far as it relates to timing.
I want to make a bet on this program.
Okay.
And I'm going to hold everyone at home accountable. Or I want everyone at home to hold me accountable.
Okay. All right.
If James Franklin, yes, please do. If James Franklin does not end up in the SEC next year, I'm a West Virginia guy. I will wear a Pittsburgh Panthers shirt on this show.
Wow. So you feel that confident?
Yes.
You feel that confident?
This just makes it even more obvious.
Yeah.
I mean, now Indiana's there. They have Curt Cignetti.
Yeah.
So Cignetti's not going to go to Arkansas or anything. And this whole time, I'm like, Arkansas, James Franklin, perfect fit. James Franklin can get Arkansas back on the map, exactly what they need. But now with the whole Billy Napier situation, and Florida fans, I don't know if you're rooting for your own team or if you're rooting to lose this weekend. I believe it could either be Arkansas or Florida, but it's got to be either one.
Right. Okay, so let me ask you this. Are you worried at all before you have to don that Pitt Panther jersey or shirt? Are you worried at all that, let's just say that Arkansas likes Rhett Lashley more, and they can get him for cheaper than they can get for James Franklin? Do you feel like that job, the Arkansas job, maybe not the Florida job, but the Arkansas job will be filled by somebody else that's more tied to that university?
See, here's the thing, though. I don't think Rhett Lashley's going to take less than $8 million.
So you're saying it will come back down to the dollars.
Yes.
And James Franklin's dollars, he wants it lower. And
because, as we mentioned the other day, if it goes over $8 million, then James Franklin may owe Penn State. So he's going to have to take a contract right around $7 or $8 million, which actually works out perfectly in Arkansas's favor because then they can get James Franklin, who's proven to be a coach that can be consistent, whether that's being consistent about beating up on bad teams or consistent about losing to good teams. At least he's consistent, and you can use the rest of that money to get NIL, boost your NIL, boost your facilities.
Yeah.
That's why I feel confident about it.
You're very young in your career. I'm gonna make a suggestion.
Oh boy,
you should be an agent.
Oh
boy, I didn't think about that aspect of it though, because they can really play off of one another. And if it means more for Arkansas to save the dollars, then you can get James Franklin for lesser.
Yeah.
But if it means more for you to get the guy that you want, the hometown guy, bring him back to Arkansas, it can be a move to get Rhett Lashley. It'll be really interesting because it's that job and the Florida job that seemingly will be open. I mean, if everything plays out the way that I think it will, because I think Mississippi State's winning this football game this weekend, and if all the rumors are true, we can have 2 SEC jobs open by this time next week. And who's to say that there's not another coaching candidate that's already out there that might get scooped up and sign a long deal?
You never know, honestly. I mean, I thought it was shocking as is that all 16 teams returned their head coach this year. And now this is just even more apparent.
Right, exactly. I did exactly what Curt Cignetti asked us all to do, is Google him. And we'll take a look at his resume here. I finally did, because I knew about his time at JMU. And I said, you know what? Okay, so obviously he was with JMU for a while. I knew about his past. But I didn't know before JMU. He was at IUP and at Elon. He was a winner at both of those places. But here's a look at the last 19 games here, 17-2 overall. As you mentioned, the only 2 losses were the 2 teams that were competing for the national championship a year ago. Made the first college football playoff in year 1. And then last week beat Oregon, which some might say that win alone might be worth $92 million. What they ended up signing him for, that huge contract.
Yeah, I mean, that was the one doubt around Curt Cignetti in this Indiana program. It's, well, they haven't played anybody. And then they finally played somebody, and then they just obliterated them. I think they obliterated them. I never thought it was close. Oh, here we go. Here we go.
She's in.
Hey-o. What is up? What is up, guys? What is up?
Friend?
Sorry for the delay. Put some respect on Curt Cignetti. What are we doing, man? Listen, this guy, I met him at the Sunbelt Media Days back when he was at JMU. And my introduction to Curt Cignetti, not to hijack this conversation, guys, but by the way, I've missed you all week. But I will say this, is he was insane.
Yeah.
We stood in the hall, and JMU was coming off a year where they had won the Sun Belt, and they couldn't compete in the conference championship game.
The NCAA's ridiculous
exactly
rules.
The ridiculous. Hey, you can, it's a 2-year figure out if you're a real school or not situation or whatever. And he had it just come down the day before when I met him there at Sun Belt Media Days. He was fuming. I thought to myself, if he gets a chance to bounce, he's going to for sure, because he just, again, that wasn't like a JMU issue. That was a system issue.
Right.
But listen, man, dude just got paid. He's bet on himself, and he just cashed in. So really, really impressive stuff. No question about that for Curt Cignetti.
Yeah, and what we talked about, one of the main things that we just discussed a minute ago, is the fact that timing is a perfect thing in coaching as it relates to players making plays between the lines.
Yeah.
But it's also huge as it relates to these kind of deals. Because
no question.
Let's just say James Franklin wins one of those 2 games, Northwestern or UCLA.
Sure.
He might still have his job.
Probably would.
And let's just say that Indiana does not beat Oregon. They might kick the can for a little bit to get him down the road. But you have a situation where in 7 days, James Franklin loses 2 straight games as a 3-point favorite, essentially.
Yep.
And then the biggest win of the season so far in college football, in my opinion, now, is Indiana going to Eugene and winning that football game.
Without question. And I remember, all I typed to my parents were Cignetti. My dad's a Notre Dame fan, but he's an IU basketball fan. He doesn't even know what he wants. But at the end of the day, he, when Indiana went over there, won that game, and he did it in this way as Curt Cignetti does, in it leaves you with this sour taste in your mouth when you're on the opposing sideline. Similar to Dan Lanning, they're not that too far off. One of them's older. One of them is a little bit, obviously, they're different style coaches. But, man, they both are a little bit crazy. But to be great at anything, you got to be a little bit crazy. And I'll sum up what you said just now. My dad says it best. When you're hot, you're hot. And you got to take advantage of the moment. And he certainly has. And here we go. One
of the things that surprised me, and I'll ask you, and I think you have a good frame of reference for this because you said your dad is a big IU fan.
Yeah.
To me, Indiana is one of the handful of schools that possibly gets more excited about basketball victories than football victories.
Oh, there's no possible about that.
There's no possible about that. Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, Indiana, Georgetown, and some of these schools, to me, they love basketball more. I'm actually a little bit surprised that they committed this much to football, but it lets me know that they think of themselves as both.
They're seeing, this is twofold for me. One, yes, you're right, in that it's been a basketball school forever. Now, that doesn't mean they've been good at basketball lately.
No, homeboy
was at Georgia, whatever. Who's that? What's his name? Who was there? The former IU basketball coach. Oh, come on, guys. With the hair and the glasses and the mean mug, and he went to Georgia.
Exactly what you're talking about.
Literally, just hasn't.
I
saw him on the elevator. I saw him on the elevator. He works for ESPN now. I literally can't remember his name right now. Tom. Oh my gosh! Can someone help us? Anyways, I should probably Google this. All that to say,
Crean.
There we go.
Tom Crean.
It
was floating in there.
Like a lot of people would say that, he under-delivered, at IU in some ways, that the program hasn't been what it was. You think about Bobby Knight and throwing the chair on the floor and the banners and all that. There's no question. But I think right now there is a clean slate. In college football. It is anybody's game. Gone are the basketball schools. Gone are the football schools. And I think that's why they're committing this. They're probably seeing an excitement and an enrollment of, are people interesting, applying to go to the school.
Right.
Just like the Nick Saban. That sounds dramatic, but the Nick Saban effect in Tuscaloosa.
Well, you're bringing up a school that I thought of. because Alabama now
they're turning people
probably
away.
consider themselves, yes, oh, for sure.
There's too many people.
Yes. And I would consider Alabama now as they think of themselves as a basketball and a football school.
Yep.
Football obviously is the powerhouse,
Yep.
but they think they expect to compete for championships in
School.
both.
Championship school.
And Auburn is approaching that. Football's lagged a little bit, but basketball's kind of taking the surge right now. And Florida's been this for a while. They've won national championships in the same year in both sports. And I wonder if this is the pendulum swinging for IU, thinking of themselves in the same regard.
Gerhard, you've taught me a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Nothing more than finances. You haven't done a good job of it. I'm just saying that's what you taught me about. ROI.
Yeah.
You taught me the term.
Yeah.
Return on investment.
Yeah.
Just a numbers game. You get excited about football, it's going to do you a little bit better than basketball.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how good you are, what you have been,
Yep.
what you were, what you might be. You get people excited about football, you get a better return on your investment. And they said, pay that man that money.
Pay this man.
Pay that man this money. And boy, did he strike it when it was hot, because James Franklin did him a solid.
Can you name the movie? Pay that man his money.
No.
You know it?
Show me the money. That's the same one. Show me the money.
Rounders, John Malkovich.
Rounders.
Yeah,
We're gonna watch
that's
it during
before
the break.
my time. Don't know why you thought I knew that.
It's an excellent poker movie. Excellent
No.
poker movie.
Yeah,
Matt
no.
Damon, John
Oh man,
Malkovich.
listen, I'm
It's
still
a
trying to
good
figure out investing. I should probably not worry about gambling until a little bit later, because if I ever get good at either one of them, we're going to be in a decent place. But right now, I just am good at spending. Anyways, all right, guys, we're going to go to a quick break. We got plenty more to come here on Southeast Sports Plus. It's Friday. It is week like 100 of the college football season. We've been talking about football for like 100 years now, it seems like, and man, it flies by. So middle of October, a lot to get to. I just hijacked our show, but I'm glad to be back and with the guys. And quick break and plenty more to come here in just a few minutes. Stay with us. It is Friday, and the college football season is rolling right along. Several teams in the SEC looking to make that October push. You want to win? It's got to be a good October. This is not just a baseball postseason thing. Like, you got to actually get it done on the gridiron as well. And listen, right now, Vanderbilt kind of in one of those situations where, hey, are you a contender or a pretender? And I'm just telling you, there was a guy up there in Nashville, and he's one of our buddies, Julian Minnesone. Julian, I do see that you got rid of your Titans poster or whatever it is that you had the last time that you joined.
It's changed now.
What is this?
Okay, well, it was.
Now it's nothing. Now it's nothing.
It was, what's his name? The former Oregon quarterback.
It was Marcus Mariota.
Marcus Mariota, and then it was somebody else. And now
it's been two different people now.
Yeah,
I didn't see the middle guy. Who was the middle guy?
There was a picture of my sports director right there.
No,
he's always looking over my shoulder.
It was somebody on the Titans earlier.
That's a little self-serving. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe I don't know if it was it Jake Locker or somebody like that. I have no idea.
I don't know. What's happened is Julian was really, really hot on everybody at the beginning of the season, and now he just said, you know what? I'm tearing down every single poster. I'm done with everything. Burn it all down. I'm just kidding. Julian, what's up, man? How are you?
That's kind of how fans feel about the Titans right now. They don't want anything to do with wearing it. It's an embarrassment to walk around in the Titans jersey right now. And so luckily Vanderbilt is still doing pretty okay, so it's like some saving grace here for Nashville sports, which is kind of in the dumps at the moment.
Well, listen, I think pretty okay by Vanderbilt standard is good. You know, like we can say good, right? Vanderbilt's they're still in the mix, in the conversation. Julian, kind of what is the tone right now? Obviously, this is a big opportunity this week. This is a team that, did lose there to Alabama. Where are we at right now with Vanderbilt, with Diego Pavia, and has there been any drop off in terms of kind of the energy and the vibe of maybe what things were a couple weeks ago?
You know, I think if you told me at the beginning of the year they'd sit at this point in the season with just one loss, I think any Vanderbilt fan would gladly take that. Question. I think Vanderbilt themselves probably might even take that given the schedule that they've had to this point. But I do think the bye came at the perfect time. I mean, you had a bunch of road victories, South Carolina and Virginia Tech, and then you have obviously the tough loss to Alabama. We talked about it on this show, guys, at the beginning of the season. Vanderbilt has the second toughest schedule in the country, according to ESPN analytics coming into the season. So this break that they have before this next stretch of games, I think, came at the right time. I do think there is an attitude right now that everything is still in front of them. Mm-hmm. They're treating this game against LSU as kind of like a quasi-elimination game because of what you have in front of them is multiple ranked teams with Mizzou, Texas, Tennessee. You want to be the team that goes into that stretch with one loss rather than the team that goes into that stretch with two losses if you are trying to indeed make the playoff. Now, I will say, I think a lot of people laughed at Diego Pavia at the start of the year when they said, I want to compete for national championships. But they are very much still in the mix for a playoff spot. But they're going to have to, like you mentioned, October, you got to take care of business, and this is where they got to do it.
I think the bye came at kind of a perfect time for this team. You go to Tuscaloosa, you compete, you play really well. The score a little deceiving as far as the way the game was played overall. Then they get the bye, and now LSU. LSU comes in as the team that's ranked higher in the polls. But Vanderbilt is the actual favorite in the matchup. Break down what this team is thinking going into this matchup as the favorite, but also coming off the loss knowing that they need to regroup a bit.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Vanderbilt coming in as the favorite. It's the first time they've been favored over LSU, and I was reading 77 years, which is
there it is, 1948 right there.
Yeah, forever. So that's pretty crazy, and I think that's just a testament to the job that Clark Lee has done over the last year and a half to not only get the players to the roster, what he likes to do, but also have the coaching staff in place, have the camaraderie and the chemistry with Diego Pavia and the rest of the offense was playing well up until that Alabama game. Now, I think a lot of also the point spread and Vandy being favored has something to do with Vanderbilt, but it also has something to do with maybe LSU not playing as well as maybe we'd expected. I mean, you guys know LSU's offense has struggled at times this season. They've been carried by an elite defense, and I think the fact that Vanderbilt's offense is one of the best in the country still, to this point in the season would lend itself to being that, I think, a point and a half, 2.5, something like that right now. So I think the attitude is Vanderbilt is still going to be confident. They know how easy it is to lose games in this conference. This program has particularly lost games over recent memory. They just got good yesterday. So I think they're not taking it for granted. And they know that if you give LSU a little bit of rhythm, they have one of the best quarterbacks in the country. It could be a long day for you.
Julian, I'm going to say something that I don't often say. Can we both have been right? Because I don't want to say I was right. But what I want to offer you is that we were both right. Vanderbilt is better. Vanderbilt is good. Vanderbilt is a contender, and Vanderbilt might not win a national championship. Like, those two things can coexist, and we can both be right. Is that fair to say from an assessment from our first conversation during the preseason?
No, absolutely. I think they are taking steps forward, but And I don't think these teams are necessarily like an LSU or an Alabama. I don't think they're overlooking Vanderbilt anymore.
Oh, that's without question. You can't.
But
you can't.
Yeah, you absolutely cannot. But then you look at this team and you have to see over this stretch of games if they are indeed ready to take the next step after that, which is consistently competing for playoff spots. Now, after this year, you think about Diego Pavia is not going to be here. Eli Stowers.
Who knows? Who knows on that, man? I would not listen. I don't know what the over, under, the spread, the line, the whatever you want to call it. The odds on that are. We'll see. Year 25.
He's a professional student. Yeah, he's like Van Wilder. You know what I mean? But
Van Wilder, that's a great reference.
Love this.
Eli Stowers is not going to be here anymore. He's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. So can you consistently, if you're Clark Lee as a program, do this year in and year out against some of the best schools in the country in the SEC conference? I think that's the big question. Now, do I think they're going to go undefeated in this stretch of games? No, which makes this LSU game that much more important. But if you get out of this, this entire season, given it the second toughest schedule in the country with 3 losses, let's say, even 4, I think that's a huge step forward for this program.
Yeah, LSU's offense has been really struggling, and we've kind of seen it, and you're just waiting for that tide to turn there with LSU. But given Vanderbilt's defense is really solid. So as far as Vanderbilt's offense against that, as you said, elite LSU defense, what's the magic number? I mean, because at this point, it seems like right now, if you score 21, you got a good chance to beat LSU. Yeah,
I'm thinking somewhere around that 24 to 28 kind of mark just to be safe. It's all going to be dependent if Vanderbilt can run the ball. In the victories this year, Vanderbilt dominated on the ground, which means they were dominating on the offensive line, winning first downs, putting Diego Pavia in manageable downs and distances. But more than anything, they're winning the time of possession. And sometimes against these teams in the SEC, whether you're playing Alabama and Ty Simpson, Garrett Nussmeier and LSU, you name it, sometimes the best defense is to keep an offense off the field, even if they've been struggling like LSU has done. So that's what I'm kind of looking for. Long, sustained drives if you're Vanderbilt. They have a flurry of running backs that they can go to. And I think just the physicality that they've played with this season wears teams down over the course of 4 quarters, which is something that they did in every game except the game against Alabama.
If there's one thing that cost them in that game, in a perfect setup, is the turnovers. We know that there were huge opportunities. It's not like Alabama ran away with the game. No, it's not like it felt like Alabama was in control of the game.
Yeah.
It's not like they blew out Vanderbilt. I think both teams probably walked off feeling like, okay, that was a really hard battle. It just, there were costly errors, and by way of some turnovers there in the red, specifically by Diego Pavia. Obviously, that's something that I'm sure that they have really harped on over the bye week and going into this game against LSU, who has a lot of hard-nosed guys. I mean, this is a team that just plays with a grit. There's no question about that. Clark Lee spoke about limiting turnovers this week as they gear up for this game. Let's take a listen to Coach and then break that down.
That's the game, and I think of turnover avoidance, we don't want to play as though we're avoiding, because I don't think that results in anything that you're proud of in terms of what the game looks like. We want to play aggressive, assertive football, but ball decisions will be critical. There are going to be times where taking a sack is a good play, and we want to try to create as many possessions as we can for our offense, knowing that possessions will be limited because of the way both offenses play. And when we possess the ball, we want to maintain possession of it. So I think that's a huge stat, obviously, coming out of the Alabama game, too, something we wanted to work on to correct. We have all the faith in the world in Diego to make the great decisions. And when he does take his risks as a defense, we need to have his back. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. But possession will be a huge part of the outcome.
One of the things they say about winning, I was about to call you Diego Pavia. One of the things they say about winning, Julian, is that you find fans that dust off their clothes and dust off their hats, and they're able to jump on board. Given that the Alabama game was there, and you guys alluded to just how well they played in that game, and they were undefeated going into that football game, how much more invested will this crowd be going into this matchup against LSU? Because LSU is always known as the place of everybody asking about going to Death Valley. I mean, I'm not saying that Nashville is going to be the white out at Happy Valley at Penn State, but I think that it's going to be a great crowd, a great opportunity for people of Tennessee to support this team.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting question here, is because like this is the first SEC home game that Vanderbilt has had, but all their other home games this year they've sold out. Now the teams that they played at home this year, Charleston Southern, Georgia State, Utah State, they're not exactly bringing a huge crowd to Nashville. The LSU fans are going to travel, so I'm interested to see kind of the ticket allotment there, and how much of purple is going to be in the crowd. But this is a huge chance for these Vanderbilt fans to show out for their team, because they're going to need it. They know that these wins are hard to come by in the SEC. Simone, you mentioned it. That Alabama game, though it was 30-14, wasn't exactly indicative of just how close that game was. You take those two turnovers from Pavia in the red zone turned into maybe a 20-point switch, and Vanderbilt loses by 16. There's the difference in these games.
You're right.
The margin of error is so thin, and sometimes that crowd can make a difference. I think it's going. If I had to guess, I think LSU fans are going to be surprised of night and day difference. Maybe the last time they traveled to Vanderbilt. How many more fans are going to be more invested into this program? Because even though they lost to Bama, they still could smell at least a quality bowl game right in front of them.
Julian, we talked with Brian Holland down in Baton Rouge yesterday about LSU Vanderbilt a few years ago, and how they had to bring in more beer trucks. Do you think that Vanderbilt's prepared this time, or do you think they're gonna have to call in reinforcements again?
Well, I hope so. I mean, they just renovated that whole stadium on that one side of the stadium. If they didn't include the beer in that bill, I don't know what you're doing over there. I mean, this is Nashville after all. One thing that we do well, if it's not Titans football or Vanderbilt football up until recently, is bachelor and bachelorette parties. I'm telling you, So we know the people of Baton Rouge like to party, and so hopefully we'll show them some southern hospitality right there, and have the beer allotment ready to go.
Listen, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready.
Nashville stays ready.
Stay ready. You don't have to get ready. Before we let you go, Gerhard, I'm going to let you do the honors on this one. Just talking a little bit about this weekend's matchup, and just kind of the interesting storyline there for the Titans, welcoming in the Patriots, and a familiar face at that.
Yeah, absolutely. I find this matchup insanely ironic on a lot of different ways. The former head coach for the Tennessee Titans is now, I'm putting this in dating sense. He's dating a new girl, and he's now about
a hotter
to
one, probably.
Right, exactly. You know what? As a Patriots fan, I love that you say that. All right, so then now he's coming back to Tennessee this week. Dang. What's the state of the fans overall? Given the way that Vrabel was treated on the way out, they hire Brian Callahan. Callahan's now done. QB1 is now saying you know what, and it looks like the world's on fire there in Tennessee.
Man. Vrabel's going to come in here and hang a 50-piece on him or something.
Gerhard just said the break.
Vrabel earlier this week was saying, that his return to Tennessee was interesting but not important, and that's more than I've ever expected Vrabel to say. And then he kind of gave a smirk, which he knows what this game means. Now he's never going to make it he's never going to make it about himself,
right? But
he will if they win, 41-14, and privately probably saying something to his close buddies like, yeah, we gave it to him good. And it's so funny because I found the timing of the firing so interesting, because the Titans have been playing like garbage through the first whatever games, even the game that they won. Yes. But I was curious about the timing, and if you're the owner, Amy Adams Strunk, makes more sense to fire Brian Callahan before this game rather than after, because then you're making it seem like, well, Vrabel beating us made me fire this guy. And so
let me tell you how the female brain works, okay? She's trying to figure out what she can get out of this, and a big gate is what it is, okay, guys? So go look at the ticket prices and tell me right now it's not a hotter ticket than every other game that they've had. That's all I'm going to say. Women, wait, listen, y'all playing checkers when we playing chess, all right? Make no mistake. That's all I got to say.
Well, if Vrabel, is the ex-girlfriend always wants to show, the old boyfriend what she's missing out on. And so that's exactly what Mike Vrabel is going to try to do on Sunday. So,
Chess, not checkers, friends. Julian, appreciate you, man. One of a kind, as always, sir. Thank you for your time. Enjoy a very exciting weekend of sports, bachelorette parties, and much more with Fireball there in Nashville this weekend, my guy.
Thank you, guys. Anytime.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Gonna take a quick break and then head back over to another closer part of the state, part of the SEC, I should say. Check in with our guy Jack Patterson here in just a couple of minutes. What is the latest on Georgia? What's going on with Auburn? We'll kind of get learning a little bit of everything from Jack, as we often do. Maybe wrestling. Gerhard, we don't even know. How much time do we have allotted? We'll find out in a few minutes. Stay with us. Rolling right along here in hour number 1 on Southeast Sports Plus. It's a Friday. College football, the hot topic, of course. Basketball is kind of tipped off in whatever way basketball can tip off in the the exciting games where you get early on with the exhibition. Maybe we'll talk a little basketball here in a little while. But Jack Patterson going to join us from our affiliate there in Columbus, Georgia, WRBL. Staying busy as always. We were talking a minute ago about high school football. Of course, we're also gearing up for high school football. A huge night for us, and I know that you share the same sentiment there, Jack.
Yeah, we've got a massive slate of games coming up in the Chattahoochee Valley tonight. 5 games we could have chose for game of the week. We got region championships on the line. And then to top it all off, because we're not busy enough, we've got high school softball state championships going on right down the street from the station. So we're all over the place tonight.
What?
Wow.
Who decided that calendar? I mean,
Right.
I'm really glad.
Georgia,
I mean, listen, here in Alabama, we're not trying to interfere.
Georgia decides to play softball. We got the private schools in town this week, and then the GHSA, is the bigger league. They play at the end of the month. Why we decide to play softball in the fall in Georgia?
And virtually into the winter.
I've been trying to figure out since high school.
I mean, it could get cold up there. It doesn't get cold down here until like February. It's cold for like a day. It snows 7 feet and then it goes away. So.
Yeah.
Listen, I've covered a few games where it's been cold. Portland, we got a really nice complex here over here. They built right after the '96 Olympics, which was the softball tournament was held here in Columbus for the games in Atlanta.
Yeah.
They built a really nice complex that's right on the other side of the complex from what is now Synovus Park. So, but we're all over the place today. We got a team that clinched the spot in the state championship today, and then, like I said, we've got a monster list of
we were busy.
high school football games, and then of course we got college tomorrow as well.
Yeah, of course we definitely do. What's your coverage plan for tomorrow while you're breaking it all down for us, my guy? What are you guys gonna do for this big one between two teams that are looking to be top ranked there in the SEC when it comes down to a few weeks from now? Who's gonna be the team there in Atlanta?
Yeah, Ole Miss and Georgia. Excuse me. We'll get to Auburn in a second, but Ole Miss and Georgia, man, that is just gonna. I have so many, thought processes in my mind of how this game is going to go, because part of me is like, does Georgia start off slow like they have all season long? Because if they do, I think it's trouble, because Ole Miss can be the team that can strike quickly, and before you know it, you're down 21-0 in the blink of an eye. Or does Georgia kind of right the ship, say, hey, we got scared, Auburn, could have pulled this off, and, and Kirby has a get right message for those guys, and
there's something.
Things get right. So
get right or get left.
I'm kind of both ways. Like, I don't know who's gonna win this game, honestly, because
what's the
I can see.
What's the number on this one, G?
We'll talk about that in a second, because that's a huge storyline.
What is it? I don't even know.
7.5.
Who?
Which
Georgia is
insane to me.
Georgia is a 7.5 point. Okay,
is favorite?
Make this
or underdog. I really don't even know.
Georgia's favorite. Okay.
Did I miss a storyline? Did I miss a storyline while I was out of town? What am I missing here?
Make these three lines make sense to me. Georgia was a 3-point favorite on the road at Tennessee. Georgia was a 3-point favorite on the road at Auburn. Georgia is a 7-point favorite against the team they're ranked beneath in the polls. Ole Miss is the number 5 team in the country. Ole Miss is the undefeated team, and Georgia's more than a touchdown favorite right now. Either Vegas knows something, or Georgia might blow this team out. I have no clue, because everything points to me.
You're gonna say it's because Ole Miss should have lost against Washington State last week?
Maybe, but the thing is that you can make the argument they only lost to Washington State because they were looking ahead to Georgia.
And I mean, you could make the assessment that Georgia should have lost to Auburn.
That's true.
So
there's no making an assessment of that. Never mind.
I honestly don't know. I mean, I was sitting on the sidelines at Gerhard Stadium, incredulous about what I was seeing on Saturday night. Okay.
We know you're a dog at heart. What you talking about? You got with your rotating Georgia helmet over there. God dang it.
Hey, listen, I got my Auburn stuff up here too.
Yeah, I know. You put that up there behind. It's collecting dust. Yeah, move the other stuff around. You got to move some other things around. Cut out your Swiffer duster a little bit. It's all right. We'll be sitting here waiting with the wagon. When the freeze effect eventually at some point impacts the plains.
I mean, Auburn's been under a freeze watch for 3 years now, and they're waiting for a freeze warning. Okay, they're waiting for the time for it to finally happen. And I gotta
please use that in an intro in a sportscast, and I will literally Venmo you $15. I swear.
That was great.
If I will buy you a really solid fast food meal if you use that on the air in a legitimate capacity on an X-Star broadcast, please.
Listen, the way I see it is, this week it has to be it. Okay, it really does. Okay,
for which team?
When you for you can say for both, okay? You can say it for Georgia.
I wasn't sure which one we were talking about at this point.
I mean, it's sad that all this can just mesh together, okay?
It does.
But I'm telling you, it is wild. But back to Auburn, like when you have the first half that team had, okay, when you're up, you could have feasibly been up 21-0, okay. It should have been up 17-0. Okay, you could be the argument either side of that goal line situation. I'm gonna be honest. I was standing about 25 feet away from the play, and it was bang bang to me. Okay, yeah. So I honestly don't. In fact, I didn't even realize it was a fumble at first. I had to go back and look at it on my camera.
They didn't realize it was a fumble either. They went back and tried to figure out, hey, I mean, I still, did we ever get any clarity on why it was not a returned fumble for touchdown if it wasn't going to be a touchdown? Because
they blew the whistle. They blew the whistle
it dead.
because of the progress or whatever, like forward progress or something.
It was a clear recovery, but they blew it dead before they could take off in the other direction.
So should they have? So where was the ball spotted?
At like the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is that my husband was throwing stuff at the television. I think that, I mean, at this point, I couldn't hear. I couldn't really see what was going on. There was just a lot going on, and my kid was like, what's going on? So, listen, at the end of the day, you're right, though. And I mean, and like you said, there's a do or die time, so to speak, a little bit. And when you talk about, not for Auburn, that's a rough situation. But for Georgia, when you start to flirt around with being a 2-loss team, you start to wonder if you're on the outside looking in when it comes to being in playoff contention. And Kirby Smart's won a couple national championships. They've been in the playoffs. They've been left out of the playoffs. And so when you kind of are in one of those spots, it's kind of like that, you know, twice bitten shy, whatever the saying is, or once bitten twice shy, whatever it is. And so you wonder, like, hey, is this a situation for Georgia where it's like, okay, we can't have this extra loss here, and Ole Miss is coming in thinking they're licking their chops for an opportunity to get back into, hey, not being a 7-point underdog in this game.
Exactly, and I mean, when you look at it now, I mean, I agree. This is kind of a do-or-die situation for Georgia because the schedule doesn't get any easier. You still have Arch Manning and Texas coming to Georgia later this year, and then you've got clean old-fashioned hate coming up at the end of November with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, obviously, a lot better than last year. And
what was that reference you just said? What was that? Clean old-fashioned what?
Good old-fashioned hate?
Clean old-fashioned hate.
Clean old-fashioned hate.
I couldn't hear what you said. Clean old-fashioned hate.
Clean old-fashioned hate now, okay? Yeah. You know, it's personal between Georgia and Georgia Tech. Okay, ask anybody down here.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, and
I can tell by the you got a little twang.
7 overtimes last year, right?
You got a little twang in your voice when you start getting a little on your high horse about Georgia and Georgia Tech there now. I can tell.
It's not even that, Simone. It's legitimately the rivalry. Okay, it's legitimately the rivalry. You know, it's in the same breath as the Deep South's oldest rivalry with Auburn. Okay, and it's the same breath as, you know, Georgia and Alabama, what that's become over the last few years.
No doubt.
So, like, you know, it's, you know,
there's a hatred.
People in the state get up for it.
Yep.
And, you know, they're playing that game in the Benz this year because, you know, Georgia Tech has the annual game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. They're playing that game at the Benz.
Dang.
It's going to be a packed house at the Benz coming up on, I want to say, and it's a Friday after, it's on Black Friday this year. It's on a Friday afternoon.
Wow, Georgia really don't care about high school sports over there.
No.
Listen, they played that game on Black Friday night last year, and I think I got home from that game around 5 o'clock in the morning after the 8 overtimes was done. Like, it was absolutely insane.
So you were shopping, and then you were, I mean, you were shopping, you went right into coverage of the game. I mean, that sounds like a pretty good 48 hours there, Jack.
You know, how many times I got to tell you, Simone, sports around here ain't dull, okay? It's not, okay? You know, if we're not covering Georgia, we're covering Auburn. We're not covering Auburn, we're covering Alabama. If we're not covering those three, we're covering high school. If we're not covering them, we're covering our minor league teams. Hockey just started on the Chattahoochee River, by the way. I don't know if you knew. So, like I said, we're all
dropping
over the place.
knowledge. Listen, you and Tyler need about 5 more people on your staff. Like, you're getting a lot done for just the two of you guys. There's no question about that. I know we have some sound, P. Walsh. We have Kirby. And let's take a listen to the guy with the bowl cut and the visor.
Like, a lot of it revolves around the run game because our explosive plays, which we've been really good at 2 to 3 years, you know, outside of last year, we were really good at explosive plays going back. But they came off of play actions. They came off of tempo plays. They even came off of runs prior to, you know, last year. So where do you get explosive plays from? You look and you do track them. You see other people and you say, okay, these players make explosives. They need to touch the ball. And that's what we try to look at because explosives are the greatest indicator of who wins games, right there with turnovers and the middle 8. So, you know, we want to be more explosive, obviously. And we played some teams early that played us in a very different way that made it hard to be explosive. We've actually been more explosive against some of the better teams that we've played because they play you more aggressively, which exposes them to risk. But can't pinpoint or say exactly what's going to allow it. I'm comfortable with who we are, although I want to be more explosive. But being a team that can grind it out, be physical in a day and age when a lot of people don't want to be physical, it makes you different.
Definitely have a different time of football than it was when Kirby was there at Alabama, because all it was grinded out, talking the 6-3 type final scores. We're going to take a really quick break. Jack, when we come back, we're going to break down what Kirby just mentioned, talk a little bit about the Tigers, and wrap up our first hour of Southeast Sports Plus. Guys, we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, Jack Patterson in the house here. Between the hedges we go there at Sanford Stadium as Ole Miss comes to town. What's the key for the defense? Obviously, Lane Kiffin brings in all this genius-level offense. Kirby Smart has got a great defensive scheme. However, it doesn't seem like the same Kirby Smart's defense. What do you make of that matchup between Lane Kiffin's O and Kirby Smart's defense?
Honestly, Gerhard, for me, the two biggest things that Georgia defense needs to be able to do is, one, get pressure on the quarterback, okay? That's something that's kind of been lacking. It got a little better in the second half against Auburn, but it's been lacking this year, them being able to get pressure on the quarterback. And then secondly, they've got to get off the field on third down, okay? We saw what Alabama did to them, and that was a big reason why Alabama was able to win, because the defense could not get off the field on third down. And in the first half against Auburn, it was more the same. I want to say they started off like 8 for 12 on third down conversions, and that's something you just can't do, especially against a Lane Kiffin offense. Like that, more times than not, he'll make you pay if they're able to stay on the field. So for me, they've got to be able to get pressure on the quarterback, and they got to get off the field on third down.
Let's talk about the Auburn Tigers really quick as we wrap things up here. Jack, obviously a wounded team, and a team that, and a fan base that just really never lets go of hope as to what things can look like. Your face looks a little disgusted right now as the Tiger battle kicks off tomorrow in the evening there at Jordan-Hare Stadium. What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Give me 3 words that come to your mind. 3.
Like find a way.
Find a way.
Find a way.
Find a way.
That's what this team has to do.
Look at Jack.
Okay?
Asking you shall receive. Jack
like
is that guy,
like
man. He's like, you know what? Let me just lay this. Let me just drop this knowledge right now with this statement. I love you for that, Jack.
Hugh Freeze said it in his press conference after the Georgia game on Saturday night that they find ways to lose games. Okay, they did it against Georgia, they did it against Oklahoma, and honestly, they kind of did it against Texas A&M too. Okay, that they have found ways to lose games, but they've got to be able to find ways to win games. It's not that Auburn has been, outside the Texas A&M game, Auburn hasn't been remarkably terrible, okay? They've been competitive in games against top teams, okay? But they haven't found ways to win. And like Coach Free says, in a lot of cases, they found ways to lose those games, okay? Whether it's letting up or, not getting off the field in certain cases, or, making bad decisions on the offensive side of the ball. Like, it is not so much that Auburn has been just god awful, okay? But it's just they haven't found ways to win. And for a school and a program that's been through so much, I don't think the noise is so loud for Hugh Freeze if they win one of these games.
Yeah.
If you beat Oklahoma, or you beat Georgia, or you beat Texas A&M, I don't think the noise is loud. Okay? Because I think at a certain point, it's not so much that they're clamoring for Auburn to be national championship contenders right now, okay? But you got to show progress.
Yes.
And the progress just haven't been there.
Yeah.
Right now you're back at 500, you're 3-3, and you're winless in SEC play. And I think right now you're just looking for progress. Simone, you alluded to it earlier that, the Auburn fans are just hoping for, for good things to happen.
Yeah, and it's only been 15 years of it, Jack. There's no question about it, man. And listen, you know what? I don't know who they book for guests. We're gonna wrap up this hour of the show here in 20 seconds. But I don't know who they book for guests for pump-up speeches. But Jack, you're like a shot in the arm, and it should be you, man. So head on over to the Plains. I'm gonna call my guy, Coach Freeze. I'm gonna say, hey, listen, our guy at WRBL, you gotta book him because he knows what's up.
He's got
Jack, thank you, sir.
Man,
appreciate you.
Tune into the Highlight Factory. We got him covered.
Highlight Factory. Love you, my guy. We'll see you. Have a good weekend. All right, we'll be right back for hour 2.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone Eli and Gerhard Mathangani.
It's hoop season. Mm-hmm. At least that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it on this show. Here's the deal. There was one time in the SEC and coverage of the SEC, collectively, Gerhard and I have covered the SEC for about 100 years, and between the two of us. And it would be probably sometime in the month of late November, maybe early December, holiday tournament time, where we'd be like talking about basketball, but not really caring. Conference play, then we'd be like, all right, let's talk about basketball because, well, naturally, there's nothing else to talk about. Mm-hmm. But football owned the world until the SEC said, hello, and welcome to 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. We'd like to arrive at the party. And that is the day and age now that we are dealing with. It is certainly championship conference when it comes to basketball and football. Guys, welcome into hour number 2, Southeast Sports Plus. Simone, Gerhard, Patrick joining you. Patrick, where are you at? Join the program. We're talking ball.
Ball.
Only one of the 3 people on this program currently played college basketball. However, you guys know the sport pretty darn well. And when you look at this league, when you look at what it was that they were able to do last year, and the trajectory, the progress of the SEC when it comes to the hardwood, guys, it's only gotten better and better. And man, 2 teams in the Final Four and 1 going home with the Natty, it's pretty good.
It's incredible. I mean, 14 teams is the most of any conference ever in the history of the sport.
Yep.
And to have the number one, and to do that with the team that is the number 1 overall seed, not win the national championship. So it's not like it was one dominant team and 13 really good teams. No. It was really, really solid teams across the board.
Yeah, they were not one of the ones. It was not like North Carolina where they were sitting there and you're trying to figure out if they were supposed to be in or not.
Yeah, exactly. And then you had some new coaches, some old coaches. Calipari took his team deep into the tournament. You have Nate Oates and Bruce Pearl at the time who'd been there for a while. So lots of different storylines going into last season. And now I'm interested to see how they parlay that success going into this year.
I find it real interesting, the progression of college basketball over the last 25 years. You know, you talk about the early 2000s. It's hard to ignore the Big East days and when the Big East ran the whole sport.
Enchilada.
And then you go from the Big East to the ACC, and then it's Duke, UNC running everything, and then it goes back to the Big East a few years ago, and then it was the Big 12 for a little bit, and now you have the SEC. So I just think it's really interesting, and we talk all the time about the parity in college sports and how it's just anybody's game nowadays with NIL, and I feel like the SEC they wanted to make their mark in basketball, and I feel like they've done a good job.
Yeah. Go ahead, Eugene.
Well, I just now saw, like putting together the fact that you have Bruce Pearl, who basically essentially signed a lifetime deal, Nate Oates, who I won't be surprised if he does the same, John Calipari there. There's a real financial commitment to basketball that, like Patrick said, the Big East used to do with their coaches, and the ACC, they still do with their coaches, but the SEC, it felt like took a monster step forward, almost like they had like a Zoom meeting and said, hey, you know what, we're all going to fully commit to this, and it's not going to be just Tennessee and Kentucky and everybody crosses their fingers. It has been a real concerted effort to be good across the board.
And I think that it took a minute of saying it's okay that football isn't just the only king, because I think that just being able to hang your hat on that and what that brought to the conference from just a monetary perspective, even though the SEC and CBS didn't really have the best television agreement, which of course is why the SEC pivoted and took their camp over to ABC and got made bank for it, but went for football. But when you were doing really, really well in that sport, going back to what it was we were talking about early in the start of this program, Curt Cignetti at IU, is that when you're getting by and you're doing it really, really well, not just getting by, but excelling in one thing that is dominant of all, it's easy for the spotlight to not be shined in other places. And then the emergence of 1 or 2 teams. Now there's just several teams that are going deep in the tournament. And then, of course, that's where you really, really start to make your money, is you're on the national spotlight when everyone is there in March and then into April, and you're sitting there, still playing. So when you look at just the state of Alabama, that right there, I can just tell you straight up, what has occurred in the last several years has been a seismic shift that is hard to actually put into words.
Transformational.
Yeah.
For transformational. I can. We talked about Indiana football earlier. To me, it's the exact same thing as Indiana football.
Yes.
When a Power 1 just
but it's
shifts
been
their
sustained.
attention.
But it's
shifts
been
their
sustained.
attention. Yes.
I mean, IU, if they're impressive in 5 years, then I'm impressed by that shift.
Right.
Basketball at Alabama, not to interrupt you, but basketball at Alabama and Auburn went from dead as a doornail. We didn't even cover it. It didn't matter. Television highlights. We weren't sending anybody to Tuscaloosa. We dang sure weren't sending anybody to the Plains.
Yeah.
To they're in the Final Four. They're cutting down nets every
Yeah.
single year. The run in 2019.
Yep.
Nate Oates, the emergence. And then he's doing it with in-state guys. I mean, it's not like he's had to go get other guys, of course, but
For sure.
his main pieces. A lot of them are people that we know personally because they were right here in the state.
Exactly. You think about a guy like Mark Sears, who was just in Decatur. You think about a guy like
Yeah.
LeBaron Philon, who was over here in Baker High School in Mobile, Alabama.
Yep.
Yes, he's doing it with in-state guys, but also the way you have to construct your basketball rosters these days is really interesting because you have to have a mix of young guys that are going to be NBA talent players and then older guys that stick around.
Yes.
Mark Sears, an older guy that stuck around. Grant Nelson, an older guy that stuck around. And then you also had a guy that can go to the NBA like LeBaron Philon, who came back last year. Brandon Miller's a guy who went first round pick for Alabama a few years ago. Jabari Walker Kessler for Auburn, first round picks. But then you mix them with guys like Janiah Broome, guys who stick around for a while.
Yes.
You have to construct it differently, and Alabama and Auburn are doing both. And I think that's what it takes to be successful, and they're hiring coaches that are able to do it.
I'm impressed by you rattling off all those names because I'm like, yeah, you're right, Jabari. And I'm going, the list just keeps going and going. Every single year, they're having guys who are lottery picks and guys who are going, and they're some of the best in the league. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, one of the funniest, not funny, so it's one of the things that caught my eye was when you looked at Stephen Pearl's, because I kept refreshing Auburn's, their official page. To see if they are going, when they are going to name him the head coach.
Sure, yeah.
But if you looked at his bio when he was the associate director and the associate head coach,
yes.
part of paragraph 3, 4, 5 is all the guys he developed.
Yeah.
And it was Walker Kessler, and it's Jabari Walker, and it's Jabari Walker and Walker Kessler. It's all these guys that are now in the NBA, and those are the guys that get the highlights and get the clicks.
Sure.
But you also have to be able to develop guys. A guy that came from Morehead State in Janiah Broome to make him an All-American.
Yep, and speaking of just replacing talent, keeping talent, and trying to develop your roster year in and year out, Nate Oates obviously knows what it takes to do that. LeBaron Philon was 4.5 feet out the door, and then somehow is back in T-Town. We had the chance to hear from Nate Oates on kind of what it takes to make sure that you do have that roster looking the way that you want it to look.
Well, we're excited for the year. Obviously, we lost a lot last year with Sears, first-team All-American. Had 3 really good years for us. Judy just hit a game winner for the Bucks a couple nights ago, so playing well up there with them in some exhibition games. But we not only lost him, we lost Cliff, we lost Grant, lost multiple starters. Chris Youngblood's playing really well on the Thunder's team in the exhibitions. I think he's at 20 and 25 a couple nights. So we lost quite a bit, but I think we've got good talent coming in. We had some guys that were out last year on a medical red shirt that have experience, 2 fifth-year seniors in Houston Millette and Latrell Reitzel that I think really add something to the team. They're smart, they're tough, they played a lot of basketball.
Quick note, Reitzel and I actually rode a ride together at Disney World.
Really?
Yeah, he was sitting right behind me and my husband and my son there on the It's a Small World. It was a pretty great moment. And the minute he said his name, I just thought about that from a couple months ago.
I mean, you just never know. It's a small world.
It was
here.
great. That was totally not what we needed in that moment. But when Nate Oates starts talking, I hear every third word because I love you, bro. But you literally just carry on sometimes, and so I'm like,
he says it. He says it all the time. He's a math guy. He's like a math nerd. So if you ever ask
former
him
high school math teacher.
Yes, high school math teacher.
Yeah.
If you ever ask him about the analytics of basketball, he will go 2.5 minutes.
Yes.
It's intriguing stuff if you're a math nerd.
Yes.
I call them nerds because I am one, so don't take offense there. But
Ken Palm.
It's you
and a Ken Palm, you're in lockstep.
But no, it's really interesting. But since you pulled us aside, I'm gonna just keep rolling.
Please do. Listen, just roll it.
Don't you also have another connection with Chad Baker Mazara?
Yes. We're Dominican.
Yes, Dominican. I knew it was something. I was like,
we're Dominican, a little bit crazy. Yes, we do have that. We do have that in common.
Coming back for 17th basketball season.
Literally, though. Listen, it's one thing about this sport is that there's always storylines, and I think that one storyline that we're going to see, just from my personal just expectation, when we do see the House settlement, the cap, the $20.5 million, all of that kind of come into play a year from now, going into next season, how much more are we just going to see widespread talent because guys are not going to be able to load up rosters?
Yeah.
so much of that money is going to go to football to maintain the highest income ROI, right? Sport on a campus, which is going to then, of course, impact enrollment, the national level, and just, if you can pack a stadium.
Right.
Well, packing a stadium, packing an arena are just not the same.
Right.
And so when those teams when basketball is looking at having, $1 million and some change come from the school, and of course you have other deals that exist, but now they're even, kind of putting some limitations on NIL. You can't just go say, hey, wear our underwear, and we're going to give you, $500,000. Like, you got to actually wear the underwear.
Yeah.
You can't just say you like wearing it and take a picture.
Exactly.
Got to wear it.
Yep.
Got to do something.
Yeah.
Put yourself out there.
You got to use it. You got to use the product. And yes, they were tightening the guardrails on that. And you make a good point, because I think if you look at John Calipari's old teams from Kentucky back in the day, the starting 5, virtually all 4 of them were going to be first-round picks in the NBA draft.
Absolutely,
They're all one and done, all first-round picks in the NBA draft.
And sometimes that hurt them down the stretch.
For sure,
because they all got, super prima donna about stuff.
That, and also they just weren't ready for the bright lights of the NCAA tournament.
They didn't mesh.
Yeah, and then you get to the Elite 8, and you face a veteran team who's been there, who's been through the fights, and then they would get exposed. And so Kentucky fans, they would be upset because, like, hey, yes, we love seeing all these guys on campus, but we want national championships. And John Calipari's like, hey, we want to send our guys to the pros.
I remember that. That was a huge deal, because he was like, that's not the goal. The goal is developing guys and sending them, and everyone was like, bro.
Like, we don't pay for that.
You're not employed by the NBA, but thank you for that. Come again.
Go run an AAU league. But but you're right, with the House settlement, now you won't be able to pay 5.
It was an AAU league.
Yeah, exactly. You won't be able to pay 5 guys that much money. You'll be able to pay maybe 1 or 2 guys that much, and be able to have that collection of talent. But this is the way that programs, if you watch them right now, this is the way they're all building. Florida was kind of an outlier last year, because they had so many guys that came from other programs, came in, they all meshed well together, and Coach Golden got them all on the same page. But I'm really interested to see how that works out, because, like you said, you can't just break out your checkbook. That's to you, St. John's. Remember, St. John's, that guy from Vitamin Water, literally just said, I'm going to drop $17 million on a roster. And then he did that, was able to pay a bunch of people. Now there's going to be caps on that, so I think it's going to be interesting.
Were they drinking the vitamin water?
And I think
honestly,
this year, as long as you're drinking the vitamin water, you're fine.
Yes. Post a picture with it. No question, literally. I drink this all the time. Then you throw it down for the Gatorade. Meanwhile, earlier ago I was arguing. Now I'm gonna say we were arguing, because I was the one that was arguing about whose guy Bucky McMillan is, and he's my guy. Just kidding, he's our guy. Bucky McMillan is quite a story, because former high school basketball coach in the state of Alabama, and boy, were his teams incredible to watch at Mountain Brook. 5 in, 5 out, full court press, run and gun. The second you hit a 3, you were pressing on defense. It was crazy. Yeah. And that's the generation in the coaching era is all that I've ever known, Gerhard. And you two go even further. You got the receipts on this one. I had to kind of back away a little bit.
Well, we've known each other since before we were able to drive. But we were 15, 16 years old. Just
Did y'all play one-on-one?
Yeah. We never played one-on-one.
Yeah, that's probably good. That's probably good on you, because he would have beat you. Yeah, that's not your sport.
He would have smoked
I could too.
One-on-one. But no, he was a great high school basketball player. But just by the virtue of where his school was, where our school was, we played ever since, Park League ball. Sure. We played against one another. And so, growing up, with a guy like that, and then he gets into coaching. We kind of lost touch for about even 5 or 6 years.
Sure.
He gets into coaching. The next time I see him, he is running crazy on a sideline, on a baseline, and he's got 5 in, 5 out. And I think it feels a lot to me like the coach that always goes for it on 4th down, and always onside kicks.
Risk it all.
It felt gimmicky's too strong a word, but it just felt like this is not sustainable on the higher levels.
It's true.
And it was sustainable in high school. Won 5 state championships, was sustainable at the mid-major level, and now he's looking to do it at Texas A&M.
And here's the deal. Bucky is this guy who, when he's sitting in front of you, you think he's 20 years old. He does not age. And we've known him for your entire life, and I've known him for the better part of a decade. Yeah. He looks exactly the same. And he's not going to sit there and be this gelled up, and if he tries to do that, you could just tell he's not comfortable. He wants to wear a quarter zip. And here's how I knew Bucky was for real. Didn't think he would have the A&M head coaching job when I was watching him coach at Mountain Brook High School. But when you watched Mountain Brook warm up, so before the game even started, they are doing the most intense warm up. Like, they're breaking a sweat. Now, when I played like Kurt Miller, who's now the GM of the Dallas WNBA team, he would always harp on us about breaking a sweat. And they're like, okay, well, our pregame makeup and all this stuff. But I mean, listen, we were good, but here, shut up. And so, long story short, it was not the priority to be sweating in pregame. And these guys took it beyond sweating. It was like when you tip off, you've already run like 700 miles. And then so everyone's like, okay, in the Birmingham Metro, when he goes to Stanford, everyone's like, hey, this is the guy. He can do this. Even people were pitching him for the Alabama job for a second there, and we're all like, all right, that's probably strong. Give him Stanford for a second. Guy dropped like 100 because the way they run and gun just nonstop, and it transferred, and then he got the call. And dang, and I mean, he doesn't have any bigger cheerleader than probably the two people sitting at this table.
No question about it. And I hope that not that I hope that it works. You could tell the evolution of it, and players like playing in this system. And it does take a certain unique player to play in it. But if you just take a look at the NBA right now, it's all running, gunning, and spacing. Now, they do it to the nth degree and probably faster than what you see a lot of NBA teams do. But who's to say in 5 years Bucky McMillan's not the coach of the Chicago Bulls?
Honestly,
who knows?
This day and age, bro, you never know because your life can flip on a dime. We're going to take a quick break, a quick pause on basketball. We'll hear from Bucky a little later in the show, talk a little about the women's game as well as we get into the nitty-gritty of October and tip-off of the season there. But we're going to transition back to some football. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, talk to our guy Noah Gross there in Austin to kind of get a state of the state, so to speak, on Texas. What's going on with the Longhorns? We may never know. We'll be right back. Stay with us. I'm back here on Southeast Sports Plus as we continue on with our number two. A lot to get to, talking the SEC guys. One of them, the Texas Longhorns, a lot to unpack with this program right now and kind of what it is to expect moving forward. We're going to welcome in our guy, Noah Gross, who has respectfully declined wanting to talk about the Big Ten, but that's how we're going to start things off. So Maryland has lost the last 2 games, and they will go play a team in UCLA, who is on a 2-game winning streak now. Our guy Noah Gross, Noah Gross, for those new to the program, is a Maryland alum. And he's proud of it.
High quality institution right there.
Listen, a very, very high quality with the Terps. And before we really get into the horns and everything going on there in Austin, Noah, what is the state of the state on the Maryland Terrapins?
Yeah, I see your guys' internet's working. You got the whole schedule laid out there. A lot of red, a lot of L's on that schedule as of late. Just furious. I mean, the state of the state is it's a disaster. They should shut down that program instead of shutting down the government. Okay, I'm tired of having to watch Maryland football right now. They would have been ranked if they did not choke away a game against Washington. They would have had the biggest win of the program in years if they didn't do the same thing against what's it called? Nebraska, who's now ranked
What's
somehow.
it called? What is it called?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm angry. You said you weren't going to do this.
I know.
I
know.
I'm
and the
mad.
minute that you said that, I'm not sure if you know how women's brains work, but if you say, hey, let's not even go there, it's going to turn into Big Ten plus. You know what? I was like, you know what? That sounds like a challenge, and we're going to do it anyway. UCLA, which is in the Big Ten now, which I still can't even wrap my mind around. Can you wrap your mind around them winning the last 2 games and what has occurred over there on the West Coast?
Yeah, soon to be 3 in a row for the UCLA Bruins. So they're red hot. They get a nice cupcake at home this week. So certainly happy for the Bruins. No, I mean it shows the importance of getting a good coach. I actually was bringing this up to a friend recently. I was like, if this is again, we're not going to stay on topic, but they
we're way off. We're way past that.
A quick hypothetical of like, these coaches. Obviously the Curt Cignetti news got me thinking of this. Like he's getting $11 million. I don't know how much the average good college football roster costs, if it's $25 or $30 million. If you were to offer me to be the head coach of Texas for like $100,000, I'd be like, sure, But then you would have like $11 million saved to go spend on the roster. So, you know what I mean? Like, how good would that team be with a horrific head coach, but presumably a lot of talent?
Listen, and you know what? Some folks just say, hey, let's get rid of a guy, pay him $60 million to go sit at home, and then listen, it is wild west there in the Big Ten, which is also out west, but also in the Midwest, and we're not really sure where.
Coast to coast.
So, yeah, worldwide, Mr. Worldwide. Who's that? Who do we say Pitbull? That's Pitbull. Noah, somehow we've got to try to reel this in. That was on me. That was on me. Texas, hey, back in the top 25, right? So they got the boot, and then they got it done in a game that it wasn't really the most exciting, pretty thing to watch, except for that it is one of the biggest rivalries. And mad respect for just watching that. I think I've watched the game before. I just have to say, I don't know if they just did a really nice job. ABC did of just like capturing everything that entailed with all the hoopla and the events that happened there with the state fair. But what a weekend there for that game. Kind of what's the fallout? What's the conversation that's taking place right now with this Texas team?
Yeah, right before his interview post-game with ESPN, Arch Manning looked at Holly Rowe and was like, we needed this one, Holly. And you could tell like it was such a sigh of relief for Arch for that Texas offense. And it was kind of weird. Going into the half, Texas was down 6-3, but I think everyone from a Texas perspective was like, wow, this is great. The offense didn't look great, but they were moving the ball well. They had a long field goal off the goalpost, and the defense looked much better. So for me, those were the 2 biggest things. The defense was way improved against John Mateer, who was, a bit hobbled with the hand injury we were speaking about last week, but for all intents and purposes, looked to be decent enough to be able to move the ball. And then the running game as well. Texas running backs had not had a run for more than 18 yards all season before Oklahoma, and this is against 3 of the worst teams you've ever seen, UTEP, Sam Houston, and San Jose State. So they finally broke out last week. Trey Wisner was the bell cow running back, so that really opened things up for the offense. And there's so much confidence for this Texas team now as they head on the road to Kentucky. And they've had a tough schedule so far. For me, I think the biggest question, and I think you guys would be good people to talk to about this because you know the conference as a whole, is if Texas could stand to lose one more game and still make the playoff, which I think a lot of people will say no right away. But if you think about it, let's say they lose to their toughest games the rest of the way are at Georgia, home against Vanderbilt, and then home against Texas A&M. Let's say they lose on the road at Georgia. Yeah, Florida's probably not a good loss. But this would be a Texas team that would win a couple SEC road games, Kentucky, Mississippi State, home against Texas A&M, who's top 5, against Oklahoma as well, against Vanderbilt. So I think the path is there for Texas. And obviously right now they're just focused on Kentucky, but I like to think big picture as well. And I think things are kind of lining up for this Texas team.
Personally, and Gerhard, I mean, I want everyone's take on your question because you presented a really, really good one. There's no doubt is who will be there in the end for the SEC. And I think that when we enter this season, there's no doubt the number 1 ranked team, preseason ranked team in the country, Texas. Everyone expected it to be them. I think that right now, like you said, Noah, if they drop another game, I really don't see a path for what that could look like, to be honest with you. And the way that I view it is that if the SEC is going to get 4 teams, 2 of them are going to come from the conference championship game. So the way I view that is it's probably going to be either an undefeated SEC team or a 1-loss SEC team that are in those 2 games. So then you're looking at Texas being a 2-loss team, being the 3rd or 4th best SEC resume that's there. And if they're going to do the body of work, Which, what does that even mean? You never know. Everyone sits here and says when you're hot, and then they look at the last, 3 weeks, what have you done there? So it kind of goes out the window. But if you look at the body of work, it ain't like Texas has, sat there and impressed anybody in the last, good little minute. So to me, I think Texas is in a really, really, really tough spot. I don't think they can afford another loss because I think they will not be playing for a conference championship, and I don't think they will be a part of the conversation. That's my personal opinion, but anything could happen.
I don't think so either, but it's for a bit of a different reason, because I think if you are a 3-loss team, and Texas might have the brand to be able to do this, Notre Dame might have the brand to be able to do this that other schools would not have. And if it is that way, it's going to be because of the branding and maybe all the outlier stuff. But you think about Alabama last year. They were a 3-loss team. They had the brand. Nobody could unsee the Oklahoma game where they scored 3 points and they looked terrible. I don't know if people will be able to unsee the Florida game. If they lose this weekend to Mississippi State and they fire Billy Napier and the wheels fall off there, losing that game to Florida is the killer. In the weirdest way, I think if you flipped it and you would have beat Florida and lost to Oklahoma, then there is a path, in my opinion, if Oklahoma continues to play well, there is a path for a 3-loss Texas team to get in.
Those losses get more attention, good or bad. Those losses get more attention than wins do. Yeah. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's just a battle of, like you said, at the end of the year, it's like, okay, how many good wins does this team have? How many bad losses do they have? Because the Ohio State loss, obviously, I don't think anyone's going to call a bad loss on the road against the reigning national champs. Then if they lose to Georgia as well, which they're going to be an underdog in that one, I know Alabama did it, and Texas is going to have to get a lot better in order to beat Georgia on the road. But that Florida game, I am interested to see what happens there. And it is always kind of hindsight, because the team you played that week for Texas, and I feel like I sound like a Texas believer right now, and I don't want to sound like that at all. But the team they played that week was hungry, talented, and a lot healthier than they had been. And with the schedule Florida has, that's not going to be the case. If those losses keep stacking up and the injuries keep stacking up as well, and you lose your head coach possibly, it's going to look a lot different. But that team that week, with the way Dallas Wilson played in his first game, Lagway looked a lot more comfortable, and Texas just, obviously, it was a bad game for them. I don't think it's as bad a loss as it's going to be made out to be. But, Gerhard, I agree with you that if things go south for Florida, that is going to be a big red flag on their resume.
I think, and this is just my honest opinion, and you're probably not going to want to hear this as a Texas guy.
He's a Maryland guy, first of all.
Well, yeah, first of all, Maryland guy, but you covered Texas.
Get the facts straight.
If a 3-loss team makes the college football playoff, it's one team and one team only, and it's the Oklahoma Sooners. Because if they lose 2 more games but still win, say, against Ole Miss and Alabama.
Head-to-head. There's no way. Bring us back up on camera. I'm not trying to argue you down. This is all I'm going to say about this, though.
Okay.
There's a lot that the committee can do. There's a lot of wheeling and dealing. Yeah. There's a lot of under the table, a lot of smack talk none of us will ever see. But straight up, head-to-head, if they're 3-loss Texas and 3-loss Oklahoma, and quite frankly, I'm glad you brought up 3 losses because I had forgotten about the Ohio State loss because it was 400 years ago, and I was going to offer that there's no way they're in at 3 losses. I don't think 3-losses teams. I just don't think they're in the conversation. The only thing I could think about was Florida. When you're talking about losses, I'd forgotten about Ohio State. And if they lose, I think they're completely on the outside and just asking for a prayer. A 3-loss Oklahoma, P. Walsh, and I love you to death, my guy, and a 3-loss Texas when they've played each other. They played each other on the field. There's no way. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys. If there's no way you put in Oklahoma, I don't get body work. I don't care, what you've done to your body. Plastic surgery, what you've done. If you beat them on the field, there's no way you put them in. I don't care what the wins look like. Straight up, you beat them.
Yeah, I think it will go back to head-to-head in that case.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, this year's SEC, I was talking to Roger about this. It's, in my opinion, much deeper than it was last year. And right now there's a clear upper echelon with A&M, Ole Miss, in my opinion, Alabama and Georgia. I think everybody would agree that's the 4 right now. But there's not as many surefire wins as there were last year. I think we've talked about that early when we went big picture on this Texas schedule. So the SEC could cannibalize itself. And when that happens, there could be, 2 teams in the SEC championship that each have 2 losses and then a bunch of other teams with 3. So Texas losing 3, if it was last year, they're probably not going to get in. But I do think with the depth of the conference this year, we're talking about Texas only having one loss. They could lose any of the games in the rest of their schedule. I could see them losing this week to Kentucky, on the road at Mississippi State. Vanderbilt.
No, if we're gonna get crazy, I hope you're not asking about playoffs at that point.
No, but I'm just saying the SEC is much deeper this year, where there's Yes. So I think there's a chance that these teams that are at the top, I mean, I don't have A&M schedule in front of me, but like I'm sure it's going to get ridiculous. They have to go on the road to Texas to finish the year. So there's a chance that like no teams finish with 0, maybe even 1 losses in the SEC as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, I believe in parallel universes, as in like almost every outcome is out there somewhere, and in none of them is Kentucky beating Texas. So I think Texas is fine this week. You mentioned the defense. This defense to me has been like championship level, and I watched it very closely last week because I'll just be honest. I bet one football game last week. It was Texas -2.5, and they got me the win. And one of the things I really felt watching that defense play very closely is just how fast they are. This reminds me of like one of the quickest defenses laterally, and LSU's really good too, but this defense to me just seems like it's almost a leg above almost every other defense that I've seen so far. Do you think, with that said, they almost kind of give Arch a few mulligans game to game because the defense is so strong going into that matchup? And I'm not bypassing Kentucky, but I kind of am. But just moving forward down the road, how much do you think this defense will impact what the offense does game to game?
Dude, first of all, why are you such a Kentucky hater? What did the Wildcats do to you? That is a good program.
He's bet somewhere in there. It's got to be on his pocket. It's the only time it gets personal.
No. With Kentucky, I feel like the Mark Stoops message has now been watered down. I feel like this team hasn't listened to him. There's like 60 new players on this football team. I think all of them have one eye out. It's hardly probably a contention not even make a bowl game. That is a basketball city, a basketball town, a basketball school. I think they've already all moved on. I just think from an energetic perspective, Kentucky's just kind of just mentally checked out. Not that they're bad, they're just mentally checked out.
I hear you. And then on the other question about Texas's defense, yeah, that was the whole message that Texas fans were preaching. The Texas team was preaching early this season when the offense was struggling. It's like, they'll be in every game because that defense is so good. But then the way they performed against Florida, where they just got gashed on the ground, and the defensive front had been so well, that was the worry. It's like, oh, if they're going to be that on defense, then Arch is going to have to not just be like a game manager, but be very good. So the way they came back last week was pretty impressive. And I want to kind of hit on specifically, you mentioned the speed. Grayson Littleton, just a true freshman in the back end for this Texas team, had another interception last week against Oklahoma. The depth and talent in the Texas defensive back room for the last couple of years has been unbelievable. A guy that was a second-round draft pick last year, Andrew Makuba, with the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, was not really starting last year for Texas until there was an injury, Derek Williams, and then he got a starting job and then became a second-round NFL draft pick. This year, there's so much talent. There's a preseason All-American in Michael Taft as well. And then they have this true freshman that Sark and company kept talking about. The first 5 times I'm like, he's talking about someone that's not this true freshman I've never heard of before. But he was right. This guy's unbelievable. Again, Grayson Littleton. So for him to make the impact he's having on this Texas defensive back room is incredibly impressive. And yeah, this defense is fast. And when they're on, they are probably one of the top 5 defenses in the country. And that's something they've been the last couple of years. And they just had that, it looks like, one blip game against Florida.
Yeah, and honestly, it's guys like, there can be pieces of the puzzle, even though there's so many dudes you feel that a lot in basketball, of course, when you just don't have as many guys that it takes to obviously play the game in and of itself. But there are times I feel like we have seen, even in this league, not just a quarterback, where you can insert somebody and they can make such a profound impact that it really does kind of turn the tide. And I do think that when it comes to game, when you can get the monkey off your back and you can get a rivalry win, it's almost like you can take a deep breath. Okay, you got through the one that everyone's going to remember you for, good, bad, or ugly, and now everything else can just kind of become like maybe a sigh of relief. What do you feel like just kind of the messaging has been maybe on that part of it? Do you feel like this team has hit a little bit of a rhythm is not the word, but like this is a shot in the arm in terms of confidence and what it can look like?
That's exactly what Sark was talking about this week. He was asked, like, is there a sigh of relief? And I think there was a quick one, but he was like, no, I've seen an incredibly determined team. Arch Manning said what they learned from the Florida game is, like, you kind of want to practice like you're coming off a loss every single week. And, like, that was a win that they needed. But they've been talking about how everyone said they were so bad after Florida. Now everyone's saying they're so great. So, yes, I think they're hitting more of a rhythm, but this is still a team that knows that there's a lot in front of them. They give the cliche that they've given for 4 years, and I mean, probably longer than that. I've just heard it for 4 years, that every week is an SEC championship game, and it usually say it after a loss. So they've been saying that now. But yeah, this team is kind of in a spot where they responded. They were incredibly proud of the way that they came back last week. Sark said post-game there was a lot of expletive being talked about our team, and for them to respond shows a lot about their character. So I agree with him. That was an incredible response to that Texas team, but I'm going to have to see more. Apparently Kentucky's like the worst team in college football, so maybe not this week, but maybe
Gerhard's told you, despite the color of shirt he has on, that's how he feels about it.
I do.
Man.
I will trust you there.
I know we got a chance to hear from Steve Sarkisian about punt returner Ryan Niblett after returning one of those punts against Oklahoma that really turned the tide of the game. Let's take a listen.
Ton of credit to Ryan, but like a lot of these guys, they all, when they get here, they all want to be that freshman that's starting. And they've all got a bunch of stars, and they've all been the best players in the Little League and in high school and all that. And you get here and you get in our locker room, they're all really good players. And, he was a really kind of versatile player in high school. He played running back, he played wildcat quarterback, he played receiver. And so when we got him here, it was like, we just got to try to figure out what is his role. And he went from receiver to running back to defense in spring, back to receiver. Now he's dueling running back and receiver. He's returning punts. He's returning kickoffs. He's an elite special teams player on kickoff coverage. He's probably the best kickoff cover guy we have. But I think it's the selfless nature that he has. He's an awesome teammate, and I credit him because there was moments when he was thinking about leaving this place, and I didn't let him leave. I fought to keep him here because of, one, the player that he is, but two, I think he's a glue guy when it comes to our culture.
No, I know you get to cover Texas, so you get to see a little bit more behind the scenes about Ryan and other guys on this team. But what have you been able to make about his growth? Obviously, he had the big touchdown in the game, but so far for this season in general.
He's somebody that Sark's talked about almost every week and being like, got to get Ryan Niblett more touches, got to get Ryan Niblett more touches. And I remember last year, it was one of the early games. They were just winning by like 50 points, and he got a touchdown at the end. It was called back, and then he scored again. And you could tell, even on the one that was called back, like he celebrated like crazy. Like he just beat Alabama in the fourth quarter. So he's a guy that's like been itching to get on the field, and he is explosive. But I just kind of always doubted a little bit because he is like very much on like the scrawnier side of a football player, even for a skill position guy. He kind of reminds me of like, I think he's probably even shorter than Xavier Worthy, of course, now with the Kansas City Chiefs. So maybe not quite as fast as like his 4.2 flat time, but Niblett's a guy that Sark's believed in, and like something I've learned, especially this year, is like when Sark talks about a guy a lot, keeps bringing up a name, even when it's seemingly not a starter, like listen to him. So Niblett's a guy that I think is going to continue to be involved in the offense. I also wanted to say freshman James Simon, a running back, I think is going to get his first career touchdown this week against Kentucky, whose run defense has been a little bit leaky. So he's a younger guy that Sark's talked about a lot as well. So I think those two guys are guys to watch in the backfield, as C.J. Baxter's still out with a hamstring injury. And they fed Trey Wisner a ton last week, 22 rushes. But that's because, according to Steve Sarkisian, he just got hot, and they just kept going to him. Their plan was to get more guys involved, so there could be more Niblett and more James Simon this week on the road.
This Texas team is obviously has 2 losses, and they've been on the road 2 times. They've been to the Shoe at Ohio State, and they went to the Swamp in Florida. Is there like a renewed effort to play better on the road this upcoming week? Because that actually factors in my handicap.
Yeah, I mean they've been such a good road team the last couple of years. It started with the Alabama win in 2023. Then they won at Michigan in dominating fashion last year. The Michigan team wasn't what we all thought they would be, but still, that was an impressive win. And that's been like a big thing for this Texas team, is the road success. They hadn't lost on the road in a long time. The Ohio State one I thought was kind of a one-off, but yeah, they were a different team in Florida. That was not a Texas team I've seen since probably 2022. So I would still be confident. I'm iffy on a lot of things with this Texas team, but them being a good road team is not something I'm worried about right now. If they struggle this week against a Kentucky team that is certainly on the bottom tier of the SEC, maybe that's a bit of a worry. But I think right now that's still a strength for Texas.
I'm worried for you, my guy, because you're going to have divided loyalties. 2 6 o'clock kickoffs. We're going to have Texas.
Every week, Simone.
Why are they doing this to you? I don't understand
It's remarkable. Every single week they play at the exact same time. It's frustrating.
That's unbelievably frustrating for you. Of course, trying to balance Texas at Kentucky and then Maryland up against UCLA, both kicking off at 6 p.m. What are you going to do? I mean, split screen? Do you have to work? Are you off? What are you doing? Chilling?
If you're working, can you just turn those two monitors behind you in one of each game?
Exactly. Get some wings.
Quick story time. I don't hope no Texas fans are listening to this, but like a couple weeks ago, Roger came. He does radio for Texas. He came back from the Florida game and was like, Texas and Maryland had played at the same time. This is when Maryland choked against Washington. I know it was it's hard to keep track of all these losses.
I texted you about this. Yes.
Yes, you did. And Roger was talking about the game. He's like, man, that Taft interception late was crazy, or something about the Taft interception. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, Taft had an interception? And then I just realized that during that moment was when Maryland was totally collapsing and I was focused on the wrong TV. So I was not being a very good professional there.
You know what? Listen, sometimes you got to be dialed in.
It's that way.
So it looks as though, before we let you go, UCLA is a 3-point favorite in this game. Is that right?
Gerhard. That's your lock of the week.
That's the guarantee
Bruins to cover.
Yeah. I'm gonna lock that bad boy in right now.
Yeah, enjoy, my friend.
Crack me up.
Send me your Venmo for some commissions, some finder's fees.
The UCLA path to the Big Ten championship is still alive. That's all I'm gonna say.
Dude,
that is nuts.
Listen.
Anybody that's got the Terps on their schedule is in good shape right now.
You know what? I can't wait to bring it back next week when Maryland turns it around and they get it done.
Yeah.
They get right.
Don't even bring that positivity into my life right now. I don't want it.
He's done with it. Noah Gross, appreciate your time, man. Sorry for keeping up your entire afternoon, but it's always a good one when we have the guys from Austin joining the show. So appreciate it, man. I cannot wait to be texting you sometime Saturday evening and something about probably talking crap about something. So looking forward to that.
All right, thank you guys. Pleasure.
All right, good stuff. Noah Gross, Maryland, man. He's wounded.
Die hard.
He's wounded.
Die hard, and that's a hard team to be a fan of because
that flag thing that's ugly.
I thought you were gonna make fun of their mascot, the turtle.
I mean,
don't say that flag around my fiance.
What is it?
The flag?
It's a badge, a flag. It's yellow.
No, that's like sacred. That and oh god.
Did she go to Maryland or something?
I know Maryland.
She grew up in Maryland.
Yeah.
It's you can't make fun of the flag and you can't make fun of Old Bay.
Old Bay.
The seasoning.
Old Bay's fine.
I'm alright with Old Bay. I'm on with Old
I learned the hard way.
Listen, hey, baby, you're good. Your flag is a little interesting.
Just the first thing I ever asked her was, "What you like more, Old Bay or your flag?" And she said, "You might want to stop right there."
Wow. So that
I had to put a ring on it. He got right or got left. We're going to break. We'll be right back. get your cigars and get your popcorn. It's the third Saturday in October, and around these parts, it only means one thing. Alabama, Tennessee going head-to-head, and sometimes when you look at the rivalries for the Alabama Crimson Tide, you start to rank who it is that they hate, who it is that they hate more, who it is that they hate the most. And, I mean, Tennessee, could, at any given season, could fall in all three of those categories.
Yeah.
Just depending on how the caliber team. And lately, they've really been disliked because Tennessee's been pretty good on Josh
They've
Heupel.
made it a rivalry again for the longest time. For there's a whole generation of people that if you were an Alabama fan, you did not know losing to Tennessee was even a thing. If you're a Tennessee fan, you did not think beating Alabama was a thing. But you're right. Over the last 5 years, the tide has turned, so to speak, in this game. And
the other way.
Exactly. I think Tennessee now, they come in with a lot of confidence. A few years ago, I don't know if you were in Knoxville that year when they beat Alabama for the first time. It was like a sigh of relief. It was a
sigh of relief, and also they drank the town dry because Lord Almighty, they threw the goalposts in the river. It was like I don't even know what was going on.
Right.
Just the scenes were insane.
Exactly, and I'll pull from Lane Kiffin here because what Lane Kiffin said was really instrumental when Ole Miss beat LSU a couple of weekends ago.
Yeah.
He was so happy that the fans did not storm the field. Why? Because that is the standard for them.
They
think of themselves as like,
that's a big deal.
We should beat LSU. Tennessee now sees Alabama in that same light. 6 years ago, it wasn't that way, but now it is that way. And now coming into this game, these two teams, not necessarily different. I think Bama's playing more balanced, but Tennessee, there's a lot of confidence, especially on offense.
Yeah, and I'm pulling up their schedule right now because I do think that, this team was a field goal away from being undefeated.
Yeah.
They were that close to being, not ranked 11th, but being ranked first in the country or second in the country, maybe. I mean, and that's really the margin of difference when it comes to what it can take. Going on the road in Tuscaloosa, no knock on Bryant Denny, but it's not like one of the top caliber difficulty places to play. And I'm not trying to be that guy. It's just not. The place is just not on top of you. I mean,
we can say the quiet part out loud. It's a wine and cheese crowd.
You're having a good time. You're up there you're up there. There's air conditioned boxes. Everyone feels good. The crowd, the student section usually leaves, midway of the third quarter.
It's part of it,
and they're ready to go. I mean, and that's just Lisa during the Saban era. That's what it was. So I was begging fans to stay for 4 quarters because they were peacing out, dude. It was La Monroe. What do you want us to do? I mean, it's 70,000 degrees.
Yeah.
It's 8 p.m. and nobody wants to be there. In those cases, it was 12:30 and the bars were getting going. So it was time to go. All that to say, this is a big opportunity and it's a big game, and people are excited because it's an Instagram game. You got your cigars, everyone. Naturally, that's part of it. Everyone's got their cigars out there, and that's a big part of how much people just are excited for the hoopla of this. And when you think about the opportunity for both of these teams to go either one, there's 2 different directions that both of these teams can go. Of course, Alabama right now has 1 loss, though it is outside of conference play. So that's all still on the line. Alabama has a little bit of leeway there. Tennessee, you drop 2 games in conference and you start to be on the outside looking in of the SEC championship game caliber team. I think you start to get into kind of a position where it's a little bit, you're just a little uncomfortable about what that can look like. You play a little bit more tight. I feel like Alabama, can just play a little more free in this one in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, the margins are a lot thinner for Tennessee if they want to repeat a performance and repeat, going back to the college football playoff game. Now, I think what about Tennessee that really, we talked with Sam Granville about this earlier this week, that makes me a little worried is how well Alabama's offense is playing and how terribly Tennessee's defense is playing.
Yeah.
Outside of the interceptions they get, they are first in the league in points allowed. First in the league in points scored, last in the league in points allowed. Same thing with yardage. I just don't think you could be that Jekyll and Hyde and be able to wins and then cross your fingers for turnovers in against the Alabama team who is not turning the ball over.
Yes.
That's why Ty Simpson won that job because he wasn't turning the ball over. So you have Bama's strength in ball security against what Tennessee does well, the only thing they do well on defense. And to me, that's not a mixture that breeds winning success, especially in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah,
as you mentioned, that crowd's not great.
People say complementary football and things like that, and it works both ways. Because if you're playing well in both sides in a way where it's complementing one another, great. And if you're doing something on both sides that is hurting one another and you think the wheels can truly fall apart in that regard, no question. We did hear from Josh Heupel talking about that defense that has not been the greatest that we've seen. Talking about the run defense. Let's take a listen to Coach.
Yeah, at times we've played it extremely well, and in particular early the other night we didn't. Some of it was just fits off of our rotations and what we're seeing from them. Scheme-wise, some of it was just destructing blocks and making plays, tackling. But as the game went on, we sure handled it in a better way. We just got to start faster.
Obviously, how you start is a big part of having success when it comes to any game in the SEC. There's no question about that. But I feel like for Alabama, you're kind of licking your chops as an opportunity to ground and pound and to kind of try to prove a point early on in this game. Whereas Heupel knows if you don't start fast, doesn't matter if you're playing, in backdoor football or Bryant Denny, the crowd's going to come against you.
Yeah, I hadn't seen the latest report on Jam Miller. I don't know how much Alabama will be able to run the football because that's kind of been their one thing that they haven't been able to do well offensively is to be able to ground and pound. They've kind of used the short passing game as their running game.
That's
and I'll see if they do that this upcoming week. But you're right. I think if you're Alabama, you set a number. You set a target, maybe 35 minutes, maybe 36, 37 minutes. We want to maintain the ball this long. Keep their offense off the field.
No question.
You don't want to.
Like Georgia did.
Yes.
And then you get into which way does it roll?
Right.
And it's not really always in your play. Sometimes it's just how the wind blows.
Exactly.
So, that's certainly not a place that Kane Womack, that Kalen DeBoer want to be, because right now everything is going about as well as it can go when it comes to their death black whatever hoodie the black hoodie of death or whatever that is.
He wore it the other day, right? He wore it at Missouri.
Yes, he did.
So
because it was on the lower third.
It's now 13 and 3, right?
Yep.
13 and 2.
He doesn't have a choice.
13 and 2.
If that man walks into a stadium for a match that is being played on a Saturday,
great NIL deal right there.
If there's a game being played on a Saturday in which he is the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide and he is not wearing a black hoodie, someone's going to get arrested because they're going to be sprinting. Look at me. They want the black screen of death over here telling us to end the show. But literally, that was right there. That was no image. That was.
Kalen, you got to wear black.
Honestly, wear black. Here we go. And it's staying here. It's saying literally make a decision. He's even played into it because he knows.
Oh, yeah.
The fans being against you is certainly because it will not even. It'll be an omen that you do not want to deal with. Trust me, fans are that fickle. They will blame what you're wearing. They will blame what you ate the day before. If that is conspiracy theory, that's how life goes in the SEC, no question. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back, we're gonna see if we get our sets to figure anything out there, and we're gonna say goodbye to wrap this Friday afternoon up, guys. Stay with us. P. Walsh and the Hizzy.
as we wrap up show here on a Friday. Take a look at some of the SEC games this weekend. Number 10, LSU. We talked about it earlier. They are the underdogs against the Commodores, surprisingly enough. Oklahoma taking on South Carolina, Texas A&M, Arkansas. Top 10 matchup there between the hedges, as we talked with our good buddy Jack Patterson earlier about. Mississippi State taking on Florida. Florida fans might be hoping that Mississippi State wins that game. Texas taking on Kentucky. We just talked with Noah Gross a little bit ago. The third Saturday in October, and Hugh Freeze fighting for his job this weekend.
Oh, that's so strong. That is so strong.
That might have been a great primetime matchup, by the way. When the sun goes down, you got 3 really good games.
Yeah.
When the sun goes down. Is that like a song?
That is a song.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Why is Patrick trying to tell me, drop knowledge on music to me right now?
LSU at Vandy. Who we got?
I just can't trust LSU's offense.
LSU's winning. Are you kidding me?
I can't trust LSU's offense.
I
got LSU on the road.
That LSU offense is constipated. I'm going with Vandy.
That is so disgusting.
Okay.
That's disgusting.
That's disgusting. Ole Miss at Georgia. 7.5-point favorites.
Do not even play with this. Do not even play with this.
When the line doesn't make sense, go with the side that doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Georgia minus 7.5.
I don't know so what are you saying?
That Georgia wins by at least 8.
Okay.
No way.
Yes.
I got Ole Miss. Ole Miss on the road upset.
You want to bet right now together?
100%.
Hold on. We want to get this. We want to get this. Hold on. Okay, hold on. Okay. Now go back to the graphic.
By the way, this is not a money line bet. This is against the spread. This is
for Baumhauers or for money? No. I mean, so I don't even know what you just said.
Yeah.
I don't even know what you said.
Mississippi State,
Ole Miss
Florida.
is going to go on the road and win. Is what I'm going to say right now.
Yeah.
On that,
okay.
Give me Bama. Give me Florida. Give me Auburn.
Mississippi State. Give me Alabama. Give me the Auburn Tigers.
Let's go! We'll see you on Monday.